All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Lassercast. And tonight we got a real special episode. We are interviewing the director, writer, and the two main stars of the Honeymoon Phase. And so today, Danny and I, Anchor Pete, we're here with Jim Schubin, who is one of the actors of the show in the movie. And then we also have Phillip G Carroll Jr., who wrote and directed the Honeymoon Phase, and his wife, Chole Carroll. So guys, welcome to the show. It's really awesome to have you guys with us here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. And so Danny and I just watched the movie recently, but right now it's streaming, right, on like Amazon Prime and on other different streaming services too, right?
Yes, yeah. So we're on Apple TV, iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, all the main streamers, and then I believe we're also on demand depending on who your cable service is. So I think we're on Spectrum and Comcast and a few other ones.
Awesome. And I think that, we're kind of fortunate to be interviewing you guys on 9/22, right? Because 9/23 has some significance for you guys, right?
It does, yes. Yeah, especially for Chloe and Jim's characters. And actually, this is the first podcast I think we talked about this. Chloe, do you want to tell them what 9/23 is in real life?
Oh, it's my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Yes, I want to let you guys in a little secret. People that are born within this week are really awesome. Because there's you, and then of course there's Stephen King, which was yesterday. There's Brian Keene, who's another horror writer. He's today. And then there's me a week from today. So
Okay.
yeah. So okay, you guys totally just knocked out my first question I had, which was, what's the background significance of 9/23?
Yes.
That's awesome.
We wanted a number significant to Tom and Eve in the film, and that's the day that they first met. And for us, for me as the writer, I always like to pull from real life, and I thought that would be kind of just a cool little Easter egg, for the few people that would know.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
No?
Wait, for real?
Never knew that.
Okay. That's
And
awesome.
she was supposed to be your wife.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Supposed to be.
So I just want to tell our viewers too, we're probably going to talk spoilers throughout this video. So if you haven't seen the movie, just go, get it on the streaming service and then come back and watch it with us.
Sounds good.
I had a question for you guys, because you guys work together quite frequently, right? Like, I was just looking at your IMDb page, and it looks like you're in, you've made a bunch of movies together, right? Including Road to Jericho, How I Won the War, A Slice of Life, right? Did you guys meet on a movie set, or did you guys meet outside of film?
Great. You want to take that one? That's a great question.
Take
So we met online on a dating website called Plenty of Fish. I don't even know if it's still around now, but it was back in the day.
Yeah.
That was so old.
I know. It does sound old. Now there's like Bumble and all these other things. But yeah, we met on Plenty of Fish, and Chloe was here as an au pair in the U.S., which is like an international nanny.
Okay.
So she was here for a year, and she put on her profile she was looking for
God,
friends.
so let's don't go into this.
No,
let's do a different question.
No, do this.
It's all it's the honeymoon phase. There's cameras everywhere. Come on, let's do this.
So Chloe was looking for friends, and
When you say that, it makes me sound like I'm looking for sex. So I don't.
No, she wasn't. She.
Of course I wasn't.
So,
Oh
this
my
is
God.
great. So she was looking for friends, and I was on there, and I was like, she put that she loved movies. I love making movies, and we just kind of hit it off, and we were really good friends for a few months, and
Because he thought I was looking for sex.
no.
That's one way to get friends too.
No, we were like best friends while
Yeah.
we were here, and we decided to make a short film together, and that was pretty much kind of the basis of our relationship then, was making movies. So we started dating right after we made that first film, and then continued to do it. And I think the really cool thing was that our own relationship grew as we were growing as collaborators.
Mm.
So on film, you have to be really good at communication.
Yeah.
And for any successful relationship, you have to be really good at communication too. So
Yeah.
it kind of one informed the other, which was really neat.
That's awesome. And then, Jim, you have worked on a film with Chloe as well, besides the Honeymoon Phase, right?
We've done 2 short films. One we did before Honeymoon Phase and one we did after.
Oh, okay.
We also met Jim on Plenty of Fish, funnily enough.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We were looking for more friends.
The circle's growing, man.
That's not accurate. I don't want that on the table. That's not correct.
Okay.
I did a commercial with them in 2016, then a short film, and then this movie, and then another short film.
Oh,
He's
okay.
not ready to share the truth yet.
But it was not on Plenty of Fish. My wife is listening. On Plenty of Fish.
Okay.
It was Actors Access, I think.
Yes, Actors Access or Backstage, which also doesn't sound great now that I think about it.
They all sound like dating websites for actors.
They do.
Yeah.
Basically what it
Actors
is.
Sounds like a dating app for actors.
Yeah.
And Backstage kind of sounds like a porn
Yes.
website.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's
I'm
not-
putting the icons for both of them, and it's, yeah.
and
This
none of it's
interview is
good.
taking a bizarre turn right away.
Yeah, right away, right out the gate, man. Yeah.
I mean, IMDb means so many things now. So.
Yeah. So, was that film that you did after the Honeymoon Phase, was that directed by you, Philip, or is that a different director?
No, that was a different director. Chloe collaborated with him on the script and knew how great Jim was. So I think you worked with Frank to cast Jim. And
Yeah, I mean, I said Jim would be great for this.
I mean, you guys already had the chemistry built from all the rehearsals
Yeah.
of Honeymoon Phase, so it was just a natural fit. It was basically just Honeymoon Phase Part 2, bringing Jim back from the dead. So.
There you go.
Do I die in the honeymoon phase?
Oh, I don't know.
Was he or not? Yeah. And actually, that's a question that we want to get to eventually, too. Yeah.
I thought it was funny that this movie is coming out in the middle of a global pandemic where everybody is quarantined, and the whole basis of this movie is 2 people who are forced in an experiment to quarantine together, not because of a pandemic, but because of a potential payout. But they're Tom and Evelyn in the movie, the characters, quarantined together for 30 days. So, Pete and I were talking before how funny it is. Like, everybody used to joke back in March when quarantine was about to happen that all that we were going to see at the end of this quarantine was an increase in pregnancies and divorces. And your movie just feels perfect for this time period.
Yeah.
So can you guys just speak to like the nature of like, what's been going on and like how this movie relates to, you guys being basically locked together in an apartment, a house for those 30 days and compared to what we're going on?
It's so funny, Danny. I got to say first, you're the first person I think I've met that referred to Eve as Evelyn, so I can tell you watched the movie twice. So thank you. That was
I was going to say that too.
Yeah. That was a great detail. But yeah, it was funny when we were at the honeymoon phase, we literally had no idea we would be in this worldwide pandemic that we're in now. And it's been funny reading some of the comments online about people saying like, oh, a month, that's nothing, Tom and Eve, come on. Like we've done 6 months so far.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like we've done pretty well in terms of the stress, in our relationship while we've been locked down. We haven't had any major falling outs like Tom and Eve. So.
Yeah, there were some comments on the trailer, I think, like going 30 days in quarantine. We've been doing it for 5 months now.
Yeah.
They're ready to kill themselves at the end of 30 days.
Right. There hasn't been any tense moments with like pancakes and like knives and stuff yet?
No, thankfully, nothing with pancakes or knives, and more importantly, nothing with curling irons.
Oh, yeah.
I have to ask right now, because we do a horror movie podcast, so we're horror geeks. I see a curling iron in a horror movie, and I instantly think of Sleepaway Camp. Was that kind of an homage to Sleepaway Camp in any way?
So when I wrote the script, I had no idea that device was used in a similar way in Sleepaway Camp. And one of my buddies who's a big horror fan was like, "Oh, is this a reference to Sleepaway Camp?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And then I looked it up on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that is."
Do they do the same things that go with that?
Yeah. Well, I think the killer uses it to kill her. Yeah. So it's similar, but yours is self-inflicted.
Okay, but
yours, and yours is more visceral because it's more on screen than Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
So it became an unintended homage.
Okay.
But yeah.
And, you know,
Phil originally wanted to show that scene. He wanted to show it.
We were debating. We were like, do you get a prosthetic and go, the full Monty?
Whoa.
But Chloe,
that gets you a different rating, Phil.
Yeah, totally.
That's,
yeah.
But we're not rated anyway, so.
Right? No, you'd get a rating now.
Yeah. And I was like, Phil, no, and I'm not going to show that. And he's like, we'll get a prosthetic. I'm like, people will still think it's mine. We're not going to show it.
I think the film's stronger for not knowing that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I was gonna say that's just one of a few very kind of disturbing scenes throughout the movie. And you guys, Jim and Chloe, you guys were talking about how you have a chemistry together. When you're doing these really intense scenes, how do you go through that? How do you kind of prepare? Oh, well, we're gonna be in this intense scene where I'm strangling you, or we're gonna be in this intense scene where I stab you. How do you prepare for that kind of day?
Chloe?
I was just going to say Jim. I would say with the violent scenes, we just had a lot of time to rehearse them, which was really cool. So we had a lot of time before we went into the scene to kind of rehearse exactly what we were going to do. I don't think, I'm trying to think I just had a lot of time to think about what I wanted from my character, and I'm sure Jim's the same, where we had a lot of time to think about it, then we had a lot of time to rehearse it, so that by the time we were just doing it, it was pretty,
Yeah. And I mean, the rehearsal combined with the amount of time just spent together created a level of trust where it was okay to do those things and to go to those places where you knew that the person wasn't actually crazy. They were just pretending to be crazy, and it was fine.
Right.
Because they'd call cut and you'd both laugh about it and move on to the next moment.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, we were talking about this in another interview a little while ago. The really crazy sexual scenes you see in movies that feel sexy, and the really crazy violent scenes you see that seem insanely uncomfortable and violent, are not that way on set at all.
Huh.
They're almost comedic in the fact that you're never actually stabbing the person you're stabbing. It's a prosthetic. It's someone, it's something else. You're not even holding a knife. You're holding a plastic fork. There's so many things that go into making it look real, but it's very safe for everybody, where you almost want to laugh at them. And it makes it very easy and okay to say, well, I'm just going to act crazy then, because none of it matters. And that was a really wonderful aspect of the trust relationship. It was you mentioned the pancake and knife scene. Halfway through that scene, I'm holding a real butcher knife.
Yes.
And picking the pancakes up. And then halfway through the scene, we switched out with a fake knife that was completely plastic and bent in half.
Oh, okay.
And it just depended on the camera angle and what you see. But ultimately, it didn't matter if she was poking it into my head, it wasn't going to cut me.
Right.
But she pointed at me from 5 feet away, and I was like, I'm fine.
Right.
Here. But there's a trick to making it look cool, where the audience is having a great time and the actors are also having a great time, because we know I'm not actually going to die.
Right.
And she's not going to die. Those are both good things.
Well, Chloe, you brought up a good point too, and I was going to ask you this too, Jim. You were saying the motivations for your character, right? And so I know that and so spoilers, you have a clone. Tom has a clone, right?
He does,
and
yes.
So the thing is, were you aware that you were playing a clone? Because my impression is that the clone is with her throughout the entire duration of the experiment. Am I wrong, or am I?
No, you're correct.
So were you acting with the idea that I'm not the real person, I'm the clone, or is it the idea that the clone isn't even aware?
No, yeah, no, you're correct.
Yeah.
We called him Tom and not Tom.
Oh, okay.
So not Tom knew that he was not Tom, but was trying to be Tom the whole time.
I see.
So once they wake up on that bed and their eyes open for this first time, he has memories. He's seeing things in a way that seems real, but he's also aware of what's led up to this point. And Phil and Chloe and I had very long conversations over a number of rehearsals about who clone Tom is versus who real Tom is, and where that delineation lies in terms of memory reprogramming and being born in a month and all of those kind of things. So yeah, the second that they show up in the house, that's clone Tom, and that's how we played it. And I think if you go back and watch it, sorry, I keep hitting my mic pad.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch it, we spent a lot of time trying to find little spoilers or moments that indicate that it's not Tom right from the beginning.
Oh,
so I just finished rewatching it, and literally the first scene, like when you wake up in bed and I think you kiss and Chloe, you have a look on your face, and watching it the first time, it's just like, oh, she has a look on her face. Watching it the second time, you're like, she knows right away that something's off here. And I was going to ask Chloe and also Phil, I'm fascinated. Pete and I both have daughters, so I always try to look at specifically genre movies. I try to be very careful when I watch them with my daughter about like feminine point of view, and I try to bring that stuff in. And this movie features a lot of gaslighting for Eve's character. And like, what is that like when like you're playing a character where you know what's going on, but everyone around you, including like the holograms and the doctor, like everybody else is telling you you're crazy, but you know you're not. Like, do you bring like real life experience into that, or are you just like playing that character really well?
I mean, I've never been gaslit that I know of with anything, but that I think some things, not with that particular, that I would bring in from my own life, but like I do think it helps as an actor to have experienced some emotions that you play. Like before I was in love for the first time, I would play being in love totally different to how being in love actually feels, you know? Like things that you can't really explain to people who haven't experienced that yet. And like betrayal is like a really awful feeling that until it actually happens to you, like you don't really understand how awful it is. But yeah, I mean, not that I know of, I've ever been gaslit, so that was just what I was making up in my mind. But yeah, that would be awful. I'm glad that I haven't experienced most of the things that I played in the film.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that's something that the film does really well, is that it like plays up this paranoia that she has, especially from when she sees that first scene where the other people that are in the experiment, the woman comes up to their door and her husband hits her head against the wall, you know, that she knows something's wrong right away, and she has to like live with that feeling throughout the whole experiment, you know? And then there's the sudden pregnancy too, which just continues. So can you kind of explain like the sudden pregnancy, Philip? Like, how was that planned out? Was it that the child would grow quickly? Like, what was the plan behind that?
Yeah, so with the pregnancy, within the rules of our clone universe, they had to grow Tom within a month. It's a pretty fast turnaround. So his DNA mixing with Eve's DNA would mean that the baby would have some parts of clone Tom. So his growth rate would have been implanted in the clone baby. It's funny, that's one of those things that like we never directly touch upon in the film, and in hindsight I almost wish that we would have made like some sort of comment acknowledging that maybe that's why the baby was growing fast, because I think that could be something that some people would interpret as a plot hole as opposed to like open-ended. But yeah, that's kind of what was behind that, you know, the exponential growth.
Yeah.
So I've had like 15 or 20 family members or friends who have asked me about that specific thing. And they're like, can you explain why she said, like, was the experiment actually 120 days and she was just drunk the whole time? Or like, what happened? It's like, no, it was the clone thing. I promise.
It was a really bad LSD trip.
See, I grew up on like, I don't know if you guys are gamers at all, but I was really big into the Metal Gear Solid series when it was around.
Yes.
And, you know, there's a lot of cloning in that.
Oh, okay.
And I guess I had assumed that some of the misconceptions about cloning would be general knowledge to people watching movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jim, I agree. In hindsight, I wish I would have put some sort of just one-line explanation in there so that people weren't wondering, you know, is it a plot hole or not?
Oh no, I love it. I love when they ask me. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're making sci-fi, like I got a lot of Twilight Zone vibes while I was watching this, and when like I feel like ambiguity and open-endedness, that is part of making good sci-fi, because you want the audience to think.
Yeah.
What was
I think we should do some ADR in the film in the hallway scene, Jim, where you kind of explain it while you're like, you know, your favorite color is crimson. Also, I saw him put the clone baby inside you and it grew exponentially.
we could have done that a while ago. You could have just said that.
Right. Well, so speaking of ambiguity and stuff too, I was going to ask you, like, so this is for Jim and for Phillip too. So the implication, right, is that the real Tom is the one that leaves at the end, right, and is with her, and they get married, and then at the end he strangles her, right? So is the implication then that the real Tom would always have wanted a baby, and that like kind of like his negative nature just kind of came out because of the clone? Is that like?
So I think that's another fun thing, is that people kind of interpret the ending, like you said, that's one interpretation of it. And I think that's kind of the fun of it, where, you know, some people read it as, you know, Tom was a monster from the start, like real Tom had this in him, and then clone Tom, it just came out.
Right.
You know, within the script and the way that Jim, Chloe, and I conceived it on the day, Eve chooses the wrong Tom. So she shoots real Tom and doesn't recognize his kiss anymore. So she's been kind of locked away and gaslit for this month, that she, in my mind as the writer, she's fallen out of the honeymoon phase now. So that spark that she remembered having with Tom, regardless of which Tom it is, it's now gone. So she's out of her own honeymoon phase, and because of that, chooses the wrong Tom.
And she's just like a mess at that point. Like, you know, she's just killed a few people.
See, I have the really deep explanation as the writer, and Chloe's the actor.
And herself, like, come on.
Yeah, she shot a couple people with a machine gun, you know, like.
Stun off the deep end a little bit.
Can we talk about that? Eve like murders literally legit like 7-8 people in this movie.
Yeah.
They're all unarmed.
And I gotta say, I'm a little upset too, because she kills that other clone of the doctor's wife. And what does she do to Chloe, huh?
I think that, I mean, you all said that you're fathers and you've all experienced heavily pregnant women who, when are hormonal, couldn't do just about anything.
Yes. Yeah, so yeah, I think she snapped at that.
I spent the last few months of my wife's pregnancy out at Carvel, just bringing home Carvel, and
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, that was it.
We have Carvel in Texas, so I'm jealous. Do you guys know what Carvel is? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because you live in New York, right, Jim?
I live in New Jersey.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
I commute into the city.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Nice. I'm in Brooklyn, so
yeah.
Yeah. You're with me. I get you. Yeah.
So what is it?
Yeah.
Wait,
Go ahead.
what happened?
She was asking what is Carvel?
Oh, okay.
Carvel is like one of the greatest ice cream stores in the world, soft serve ice cream.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And actually, if you guys know, Carvel is the key to keeping the honeymoon phase in a marriage. Like if you just take your wife there like once a week, boom, or your husband, you know.
Or you know, every other month, get them Snooky Puss the cake and just bring
Budgie
that
the whale.
home.
Yeah,
Jim,
that's
Jim, what
Budgie the
flavors?
whale. Yes,
What flavor is
exactly,
Snooky
Budgie the-
Puss, Jim?
Oh, Snooky Puss can be any flavor you want, Phil.
and
Snooky Puss is on actors backstage. With,
It's still ice cream.
plenty of fish.
We call it back access, and
Yeah.
that's the new Snooky Puss.
and no one's sticking a curling iron in it, okay? I promise.
Like the girl.
Unless you want to, and then we call that actor stage, and it gets really weird.
We've gone off the deep end again. It's we're back.
Yeah.
It's Snooky Puss.
Can I just ask you guys about I loved the house that this was filmed in. It almost started because you as a viewer, you spend so much time just watching the two characters in this house. It almost takes on the role of a character in and of itself, and I love the design of that one bookshelf it looks like it's collapsing. I wanted to get that in my apartment. I love anything with a pneumatic tube is just the coolest thing ever. I love the TV. So like, what went into like picking that location or designing that location? Because I just like the bathtub was awesome. Like there is so much cool stuff in that place.
Yeah.
Before you guys answer this, because I know you have so many answers to this, if this house ever becomes available on the market and I actually make it as an actor, I'm fucking buying this house. Because I'm obsessed with this house since I lived there for 3 weeks. And I want this house so badly. But go ahead.
No, it was
Go ahead. I love this house.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So we were looking for locations on Airbnb for the film because we figured, you know, that would be maybe the easiest way to find the home location. I wanted something that was kind of like mid-century modern, but with modern appliances inside. Big glass windows, you know, since they are quarantined for a month, I thought it was kind of a fun idea to have it be like a glass prison with the big windows. And you know, when we saw this house, it was like a perfect match because, like you said, it did have this creepy bookcase, which was, you know, and a hint to something being askew with Tom as a writer. The door is also like cockeyed the way that the panels are on it. We were looking very specifically for a bathtub where, you know, two people could sit and, you know, we wanted to be like a sexy bathtub. And I think that one definitely was.
Can you imagine the production meeting? We need a sexy bathtub.
Oh, I want that bathtub. I would hang out in that bathtub.
Oh my God. Guys, if it was in my bathtub at home right now, it'd not be sexy.
No.
I can't believe we even sat in that bathtub.
It was
It
big.
looked a bit. I can't remember how our legs were. They were like.
Oh, I do exactly. Would you like to remember? So because I have the longer legs, I had to lift my knees up and straight across, but it had to stay under the bubbles. So your legs went under mine because your legs stretched right across, but you had to sit up and I had to slink down so that my knees could go up and across. And every once in a while, the bubbles would like fizzle down over my knees. And they're like, guys, more bubbles, more bubbles. You can see Jim's toes. More bubbles, more bubbles. And that's how we did it. I had to like lift my legs up. So I was just kind of like arched back.
There's no
And
water
your
in
legs.
the bathtub, which
Yeah, it
is
was
funny.
all
It's like it's
bubbles.
just bubbles because the water would
It's
get
just
cold,
bubbles.
and we shot in there for probably like 3 or 4 hours. So
That scene.
they couldn't have actual water in there. I think you were in a bathing suit, right?
No, well, no, I just had my underwear on, but I didn't have, because I was like, can we get the bubbles on?
Yep.
I don't want to just be exposed anymore on camera. I did my time in the other scenes. Like,
And the glass door was something that we needed in the script. You know, Tom breaks down the glass door.
Right.
And this house didn't have a glass door, which, you know, a glass door in a bathroom is a very unique thing. Like we found one house that actually did have the glass door, and oh my God, it was beautiful. It had a glass door and a glass wall right in front of the bathtub, and it led right to the bedroom. So it's like you could be laying in bed and then looking over and watching the person in the bathtub. It was a really like kinky bedroom.
Yeah, that's
and we
very
wanted
sexual.
something like that for the film, but the difference, which is funny in hindsight, the difference of this other house was that the toilet was then behind a wall on the other side of the bathtub, where in our house, the door just opened up to the toilet. So like anybody that was staying at the house, because the cast and crew lived at this house too.
Oh.
If you were on the toilet, you could look out. So like our grip rigged a blanket. It was a sound blanket on a C-stand that would go in and out, covering the bathroom door, because if you were doing your business, you could look in. So.
Just someone could walk past and you're like,
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
you're like just taking a bath.
Yeah. For the couple, the bathtub thing's sexy, but nobody wants to see somebody on the toilet. So we,
No.
you just overlook
Oh,
that in the
sexy.
film.
Yeah.
Not so much no one wants to see anyone, but no one wants to be seen on the toilet. The worst thing is to turn and look out and be like, oh no.
Making eye contact.
Now I gotta wipe.
So this house you're saying is like an Airbnb house that you guys rented out to film? So
Yes.
there's some damage done to the house though, right? Like while the movies happen.
Yes, we let them know ahead of time, and we worked out a situation where anything that was damaged would be repaired. The wall that Eve tears down, it's a fake wall. It's just drywall over a closet. We removed the closet doors, and the homeowners were super cool, where they let us repaint the entire house white. So that also helped with kind of mixing, the real location with the fake wall that we had. Their one requirement was that it was off-white. So we looked at the scientific chart of colors and just found as close to off-white as we could. That was white.
Scientific.
Yeah.
I'll be right back while you take that. I'm just going to mute this.
Yeah, well, you know what? I had a question. I was going to say that, we have the significant date tomorrow, right? Which is, your birthday, right?
9/23.
Date. Is your birthday too?
Oh, no, I was born in May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But I was going to say, today, by
May.
coincidence, was actually the date that Lost came on TV, right?
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
the first episode of Lost premiered today, years ago, right? And what I was going to say,
Wow.
you guys had this big score because you have, his name is Francois Chow, right? Is his name? Yeah, and I just thought that was so awesome because you have this guy from the Dharma Initiative who's the head of your project. And what was it like working with him?
Oh, it was the coolest thing in the world. I mean, I'm a huge Lost fan, and as a writer, when you're writing, you try and picture certain people in the roles just so you have a face that you're writing to. And Francois was always the director in my mind. And I reached out to him before the shoot, just kind of on a whim. And he wrote back saying he'd love to read the script, and and he read it and he really enjoyed it, and the rest is history. But it was cool learning from him and watching him work. I think he had probably the most experience out of any of us on the set.
Yeah.
So just watching him kind of, in the blocking rehearsals, how he would take control of the room as his character and just kind of feel out the space, get acquainted to everything. I don't know, Chloe and Jim, what was it like working with Francois?
Really cool. I mean, because he's just like famous. So I just didn't think about that on set though. I was just acted like he was just like a normal actor. And then on the last day, I was like, because I was trying not to like fangirl, I was like, "Can I get a photo with you?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Thank you."
Dude, I would.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
no, he was fun to work with. There was never any pressure on the scene. It was just, this is what I'm going to do. What are you going to do? So I know before we start. And I was like, I think I'm going to do this. And he went, great. And if you did something different, it didn't bother him. He just knew whether it was something planned or new, and he would react to it. And that was the funnest part. I love scene partners that have something planned out and then are willing to play in the middle of the moment. And he was such a class act about that. But like Phil said, he would come into a scene and kind of walk his way through it and guide how things were going to go for him. And then you were watching that, you would go, okay, well, I'm going to do this then because I see what you're doing and I can react to that.
Yeah.
And he kind of helped in his own way direct and guide himself in a way that helped tell the story. And it was really a cool lesson in how to help tell a story that the director has given you in a way that you feel you have some connection to.
Yeah.
And we took that because he wasn't with us the whole time. He was only with us for 8 days, 9 days.
Yeah, we had him for 10, but a couple of those days were whole days.
10. Yeah. Because so out of 21, 22, we had him for 10. So there was so much time to like take after that and go, oh, I can do this. That's really fun.
That's
It
awesome.
was a wonderful learning experience.
Yeah, and jumping off that, Jim, with the blocking, I think what was cool with Francois was like because he has so many years of experience in films under his belt, I feel like he almost, like, you know, for me as a director, I love to let the actors take control of the blocking for the first go around at the rehearsal, and then we'll make modifications for camera and everything from there. But, you know, the actors have to do what's natural to them and their character to begin with. Yeah. And I think what was interesting with Francois was that he was able to meld what his character would do, but also because he has so much experience, he also knows what would be good for the camera. So like he would do his blocking where he would be open to camera and you know, what would look best for the film. So it was fascinating to watch him. And I learned a lot from watching that also, just because for me doing my first feature, it's like, okay, I think the actor should go there, but let me see what Francois does, because he's got 40 years of a career behind him, you know, and can bring all of that experience to us. So it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think he did a great job on the movie too. And, you know, just having him in that role, that was really smart casting. You know, I think that's the right kind of guy for that role.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was going to say too, that when you look at the IMDb for the movie, it says that you were one of the 5 finalists for Project Greenlight, right?
Yes.
Now, that is the thing that the Project Greenlight is like the thing with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, right?
Yeah. So the main Project Greenlight TV show is with them, and they're one of the, you know, I guess founders of Project Greenlight. The specific competition we were in was a collaboration between Project Greenlight and Shudder TV.
Yeah.
And it was called the Real Fear Horror Competition.
Right.
And you had to make a 3-minute pitch for a horror film that you could shoot for $350,000 or less.
Yeah.
And we were initially going to do a Kickstarter for the Honeymoon Phase. So we were like, well, why don't we do this pitch for them?
Yeah.
And then just, you know, do a version where we say, you know, support us on Kickstarter, and then one where it's, you know, vote for us on Shudder. And we ended up winning the Facebook public vote for our pitch, which got us into the top 5. And then we went to Shudder Labs, which is a week-long fellowship with horror filmmakers like Mike Flanagan, Larry Fessenden, Jen Wexler, and then they mentored us in sessions about how to, you know, develop our script further.
Yeah. Me and Dan both went like this when you said Mike Flanagan. It's just because, you know, our show's called The Lasser Cast, right? And so it's named after the Lasser Glass mirror in Oculus.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also, I'm sorry, Pete, but also you guys have like you and Chloe, you know, you're married and you work together, and of course Mike Flanagan met his wife making their movies together, so there's a little connection there. You brought up Jen Wexler. I love her. I got to interview her. My cousin actually worked on The Ranger, and
oh, no way.
I got to meet her and a bunch of the cast members of that, and she's awesome. And that was great. I was going to ask you again. I feel like there comes a point where you may see too many movies, because a lot of times you watch a movie and you're like, this movie that I'm watching is this movie plus this movie with a little bit of this movie. And what I wrote down was this movie, The Honeymoon Phase was like Twilight Zone meets Ex Machina with a little bit of The Shining.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm wearing my Shining shirt with Jack Nicholson on it. And your movie has a writer with writer's block who has a very interesting and violent relationship with his wife. And it's hard not to see, again, I don't want to say that it's an homage if it's not, but it's the horror fan in me. It's hard not to see a Shining vibe there. So like, what was there a Shining vibe there? And for Jim, when you're banging on that mirror, you have a lot of Jack Torrance in you. So
yeah, there was.
Thank you.
There was definitely some Shining homages in there. You know, we pitched it as like Black Mirror meets Fatal Attraction, but Shining was a big one for us. Rosemary's Baby was another one that we looked at as some creative inspiration. Ex Machina we watched. Yeah, all of those we kind of plucked, you know, little stylistic things, or, you know, in the case of The Shining with Tom being a writer, you know, we did kind of like our own little rendition of, you know, the book. And that was a lot of fun to do. But yeah, I feel like the next generation of Squirtle. I feel like
one of the baby names, Squirtle.
It is.
Oh, okay.
Go back and look. It's one of the baby names.
Okay.
Jim probably had an hour to write all those baby names, and there's some fun. I think Jesus is in there. Charizard,
Squirtle, Charizard, Piplup, Sky Masterson shows up at one point. Santa's in.
Jim, you wrote all those names in the book? That's you?
Well, I wrote the first 5 pages, but then after that, I started running out of ideas, and then our props master took over.
Okay.
After 5, because she flips like 20 pages, and I just couldn't do it. But I did the first 5.
And all from memory too, right? You didn't look up any names.
No, made up names. That's why the Pokemon names start to come in.
Right.
It's funny. My daughter's name is Charlotte, and we call her Charizard a lot. That's like one of.
Oh, that's adorable.
That is really cute.
But now we
Yeah.
a little girl. Charizard.
God, that's so good.
Yeah, I just gave you guys an idea. So.
God, yeah. Oh.
So that was a touching thing, and I can bring it into a little more dark territory. So do you guys like, is the idea of the movie that like having a child really kind of can kill creative ambitions? Like, is that one of the themes that you're trying to convey? Because it sure seemed like you know, that Eve didn't want to have a child at all, right? And that you know, obviously Tom's very focused on it, so that was where they seemed to butt heads the most.
Yeah, you're the first person to bring that up in any of our discussion, which is fun. Because I think so many people just go right to the domestic abuse part of the story that they don't even comprehend the, like you said, that kind of theme about, do children prohibit artistic pursuits? And when I was writing it, you know, I think some of my own inner anxieties about having children probably came out on screen. You know, it's something that we discuss, and it's always been, you know, when we're ready, we'll do it. But we want to have a couple years of making a go at our film careers before we do that, just because we know how expensive it is to make movies and how expensive it is to raise kids.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that we can do both of them right. So yeah, that was definitely, you know, I think some of my own anxieties coming out in that.
Yeah, we just got our first pet together, and already Phil is like, "Oh my God, it's so much responsibility." And I'm like, oh.
What do you guys? Is it a dog? What do you guys have?
Well,
Are you gonna show us? That'd be awesome.
yeah.
It's
I
up to
don't know how
you.
she's gonna react.
Can you? Is she still shedding?
No.
No. So we is my phone here? I'll show you. So we got a ball python named Medusa. And
Nice.
He's actually really
I
sweet.
thought like a snake.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
see here. Where's the camera?
Oh, you know what?
It's not going to work.
It's not.
If you text it to me, I'll screen share it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was always
I-
a dream to have a snake growing up. But
I would love to piggyback on that question real quick, because it's so fascinating to hear from the director versus the actor. Because as the actor, before this movie happened, my wife and I weren't having a kid.
Really?
But yeah, no, we weren't pregnant at this point. Joan wasn't pregnant. I have never been pregnant. Joan wasn't pregnant at this
after the
point.
movie.
You weren't poking holes in condoms. at that point?
No, Jesus.
Jim,
But
did
it's
you
funny
do it as
because
a joke, like to get pregnant? Like once you guys decide to have kids, where you're like, just one.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
well, when I proposed to Joan, I said, look, I know I've always wanted to have kids since I was 10 years old, and I want to be a father. I proposed, and we went out to dinner that night. She said, I still don't want to have kids, right? And I said, I know. I chose you over that, and that's fine. And that's my choice. And then a few years into our marriage, she said, I would have your kid. I think having a family with you would be cool. I've just never been with someone I want to have a family with. It's like, well, that's really flattering and amazing. And are you saying right now, because we live in a 1-bedroom apartment and I don't have a job? It's like, well, no, not right now. I'm just letting you know that it could be cool. And then once we started doing this movie, we started talking about it, which is weird.
Yeah.
But it was funny when you say that is it something that destroys creative ingenuity or creative anything.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, since I've had my son, I've done far less work.
Yeah.
In that I haven't put myself up for things because I want to be home with my son.
Right.
But at the same time, I have been involved with projects that I want to be involved with more because I'm willing to put myself out for those things, and I get involved with weird creative things because that's the circumstance now. So I don't think it limits that. I think it forces you to be more creative, actually.
Huh.
And there are so many performers and actors and directors and everyone that you see that have families and continue to do this.
Right.
But do it on their own terms. And when my wife and I got pregnant and I called my agent and I said, hey, we're having a baby, she said, okay, what does this mean for us?
Right.
I was like, okay, it means no more tours. I'm not going on a tour again, but it means now these things, TV, film, commercials are the focus, and we're going to shift ourselves away from that.
Yeah.
And subsequently, I've started doing more voiceover work because for the last year, my God, for the last 5 months, voiceover has been the #1 way for actors to make work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've made way too much money over this, more than I have doing other stuff for the last 2 years. And it's been great.
Excellent.
So that's kind of a big thing, is just saying it's not about being less creative. I think it's actually about being more creative and knowing what is my circumstance and how do I continue to do what I want to do in that circumstance.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to leave my son. I just want to do what I love doing at the same time.
That's very well said. Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like that's actually like the positive route versus the way the movie goes, right? The movie's like the dark path, right? Where it's like, oh God, the kid is the worst thing. You're not giving me a kid, I'm going to kill you. Yours is like, okay, I had the kid, and I'm getting the best thing out of the situation. So I think that's real positive. I like that.
Right. No, as the actor, not the character.
Right.
Did you have the I think we're ready to have a child talk with your wife in the middle of a horror movie after a splatter birth? No, not like in the movie.
We did not. No, thankfully.
Wait, what is the idea behind that movie, by the way? That's in the movie within the movie. It's like the girl's pregnant, and did you have an idea behind that story too?
Yeah, so we needed a moment of inception for the idea of Tom having, this obsession with a baby. And we thought it'd be really fun at that point in the film, to shoot a schlocky horror movie and have that be kind of the genesis, and also kind of a foreshadowing, this baby that they're going to have ends up destroying their relationship, and there's violence and stuff, and we were like, oh, let's have a violent horror film about giving birth as kind of this foreshadowing. And that ended up being one of the most fun parts of the film to shoot, because it happened like right in the middle of our schedule. We had already shot some really intense stuff, and it was just kind of a moment of levity on set that I think we all needed at that point.
Right.
Can I actually ask, because I never asked, did you guys actually do the CGI on the baby, or did it just stay the way it was?
No, I ended up just cutting it. I was like, I don't know if
Okay.
it's needed for the scene. So we
Okay.
it was supposed to be a demon baby that's born. We let the sound effects take over. But
Yeah.
Chloe's looks like Chloe's taking over my mouse
No,
here.
I'm trying to
She
show
just
them.
wants to show you
This is our
her
baby.
What is your bull python's name?
Medusa,
That's
because I'm a big.
Good name. Appropriate.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah.
Great name.
Oh, we can't screen share, it says.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that one of my settings that I have?
That's fine.
We can send it in chat.
You know what? If you send me a picture through my email, I will put it up over our video at one point.
Yeah, let's do it.
To show everyone that's going to watch this too.
Here, I'll show you my baby.
Aw.
Your baby's much cuter than our baby.
Oh, so cute.
Your baby's
Wow.
equally as cute as mine.
So my daughter is literally right over my phone where I'm looking.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
daughter is sleeping on the couch right now.
How is she sleeping?
Yeah.
She's 9.5. She's been doing remote learning for 5th grade, so she's passed out. There's only so much you can. There's only so much you can stare at a screen all day.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. You mentioned you mentioned at the beginning, Phil, about potentially there are characters that could be around for a potential sequel. So like, what do you guys have ideas of the Millennium Project continuing? Or what else do you guys have? All three of you, what else do you guys have coming up in the pipeline?
We all of us, I think, had joked about what would come next. For me, I don't think I wouldn't want to write the sequel. I think it would be fun to like hand it off to another writer. And I would also like, Jim, you want to write the sequel? And I also like the idea of a sequel being almost like an anthology universe of experiments that the Millennium Project's running. So like each film would be different characters. Some characters would be reoccurring, like the director, but different like psychological experiments within that universe.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
And Jim, I feel like you look so excited to talk about Tom's.
I have a lot of thoughts. I'm going to text you about them later.
Okay.
I have like, just based on, and it's funny because that boardroom scene where they're like, hello everyone, welcome to the Millennium Project, we're gonna do this thing, and there's all these people, and what cracks me up is there were like 6 actors cast and then a bunch of extras, including like Phil's grandparents.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, there's there was an older couple there.
Yes, exactly. You know who they are, and it's so sweet and so cute. Like, I want to know what happens to that couple more than anyone else. Like, what's the couple that's been together for 70 years and then you swap out their partner?
Yeah.
Because how many hours did that last? 3 hours? 4 hours? 24 hours before they just lose their minds and kill them? Like, how does that happen? And that's the YouTube series I want to watch.
Yeah. And you know what you could do too is that you could make it that like they wake up and they're young, right? Like they're cloned young or something too. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh no.
No.
I really want to see what happened to John and Julie before he smashed her head on the
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I also really want to watch those 2 actors do that. That would be great.
Yeah. Well, so
Because they're so good.
So, but is the implication that all the male clones like turn on the women, or no?
So that was kind of a funny side effect of some of the cuts that we made to the script before we shot. Originally, we saw a couple other couples in their homes out the window, and it was supposed to be that there's men and women being cloned in the different relationships, because it's not just heterosexual couples either. There's gay and lesbian couples.
Sure.
But because of what we ended up shooting, the film was almost making more of a statement about men and abuse, because it's pretty much all men cloning women. So it's an interesting thing. You know, films take on a life of their own once you release them. And that's been one of the things that we've been finding is people are putting meaning on something that we didn't initially mean to put meaning into, but we like it. You know, I think it's an interesting concept that it is all the men in the film that are cloning the women.
I think, did we talk about flipping it in the early writing, or was that
with Eve being the clone?
Yeah, because the only problem is if it was Eve that was the clone, is you kind of lose the like the physical threat, where like it would be harder for me to like overpower Tom, like for Eve to overpower Tom phically, like where it, do you know what I mean?
With
Like
the old couple in the script though, because we originally had the elderly couple in there. And it was I think it was like Doris or something was her name. And, she stabs her like 80-year-old husband, you know, in the back, and Eve doesn't see it. So we did touch upon that, but yeah, it's an interesting read that you found there.
Yeah.
You mean the way Eve stabs me?
Well, similar. And stabs Tom, Jim. She doesn't stab you.
Right.
I mean, it felt like me. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're pretty much like at our time that we normally do our episodes for. Was there anything that you guys wanted to promote or like talk about future movies? Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. You can show Medusa if you want.
Oh, I 1,000% will. If you guys email me, it'll be a Medusa fest. You did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Medusa will go all across the screen. I promise.
Oh, God, that's like my nightmare.
Oh.
Jesus.
So we have the Honeymoon Phase DVD coming out 1 week from today, which I think is your birthday, I think you said, right? Is it
right.
The 29th?
Yep.
The 29th, Honeymoon Phase, celebrate your birthday.
Excellent. Okay, I like that.
All the behind the scenes are on there. We have alternate ending, deleted scenes. There's like 13 deleted scenes on there.
Oh, wow.
Making of, bloopers. If you want the whole Honeymoon Phase experience, check out the DVD. Or if you're you're not an old person like me and Chloe who collects physical media, you can find all the behind the scenes and deleted scenes on the Apple TV iTunes version of the film. They'll be released next Tuesday on the 29th as iTunes extras. So the film's available right now on iTunes, and if you buy it, all that stuff will unlock on Tuesday.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to see some bloopers between you guys. I think that'd be real funny.
Oh man, there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
The headbutt scene is my favorite of all time.
Jim assaults me off screen.
That's not true. That's not what happens. That's fake news.
Wait, so you didn't
Not okay.
Is that a
You
blooper
did,
or a
you did,
blooper?
but don't tell anyone.
It's a blooper.
Oh, okay.
It's a
Okay.
blooper. That's all it is.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah.
Jim,
Jim, do you guys have other projects coming up too?
I'm currently doing some voiceover work and some singing stuff that's not coming out yet.
Oh, cool.
But doing some auditions and seeing what's coming. But there's not much going on in the acting world, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But thank you for asking.
Yeah, of course. I understand with this environment. Yeah. And then Chloe, you've made some movies yourself too, right? That you've directed and written as well.
Yeah, just short ones, but I actually just wrote my first feature with my writing partner, and we shot the proof of concept / short film, standalone short film at the start of this year before COVID, and we're going to use that to try and package the feature film so we can film as soon as COVID's done. Hopefully, like that's going to be my passion project, so I'm super excited about that. And we will be releasing the short film on the Fear Crypt YouTube channel, which is my production company, soon. So if any of you guys like horror, please check out Fear Crypt on YouTube.
Okay.
All my shorts are there.
Sure. I'll go subscribe to that right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate it. I think I'll probably have this out. Probably, if I can do this, I can have it out on 9/23. I think that'd be pretty appropriate, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us. It was such a pleasure
Thank
talking
you
to you
guys. Thank you.